Today I'll be reacting to your wrestling hot takes. Every week after Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, I sit down right here and I ask you over on Twitter, what did you think of the show? And to submit any hot takes, bold predictions, thoughts, opinions, or whatever else you may have on the show. And a lot of you certainly had a lot to say about Monday Night Raw last night. And rightfully so. I mean, the show did feel a little lackluster at times, and a lot of people are very opinionated on these 2-hour episodes of Monday Night Raw. It doesn't feel like there's enough content going on the show, and a lot of people are missing the days of 3 hours. But we're going to get into that and more. So before we begin, make sure you leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and if you would like to submit your hot takes in the future, be sure to follow me over on X at Conman167. All right, let's check out your hot takes. This storyline is already cooking. That You're Not Family line is going to hold so much weight in this build up to War Games. Yes, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn are absolutely cooking with the storyline that's happening right now. And what they're doing is they're rewarding longtime Bloodline fans with a very logical direction leading into War Games. See, it wouldn't be right if we just jumped right back into Jey Uso with the Bloodline after everything that happened over the last few years, and it certainly wouldn't be right if Sami Zayn was okay with it. Remember when Jey Uso came over to Monday Night Raw, he had to prove himself to everybody that he wronged, and jumping right back in with Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso is essentially going back on his word, essentially changing everything that has happened over the last year. Jey Uso stood on his own. Why would he want to go back to Roman and Jimmy? At least this is Sami Zayn's perspective, and he's kind of in the right. Jey Uso was manipulated for such a long time, and the only time he actually won singles gold was when he got it done by himself. Now, I know Jey Uso misses his family and everything, and he wants to get back with them because of course he does. It's family at the end of the day. But how dare he say that to Sami Zayn? How dare he say that you're not family, Us, after Sami Zayn has had this man's back? And because of these words from Jey Uso, I actually think Sami Zayn has two potential directions he's about to move in. Because there really was no question that Sami Zayn was hurt deeply by the words of Jey Uso, and he either needs to prove himself as a member of this family, or he's going to prove himself that he is not a member of this family. He can either align himself with Kevin Owens to go up against the Bloodline, as Kevin Owens still has issues with Roman Reigns, still has issues with Jimmy Uso, and he has issues with everybody else who happens to forgive the Bloodline. I mean, that could make sense. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn did fight the Usos at WrestleMania for the tag team titles, and Kevin Owens could actually still have an ally in Sami Zayn, especially after he was told that he's not family. Or the other possibility is that Sami Zayn could actually try to prove himself as a member of the Bloodline. He could try to win over Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Roman Reigns and prove that he really is that honorary Us. And with War Games right on the horizon, it does seem to make sense that we could see Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn taking on the Timu Bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa. And there's no question that everybody out there wants to see Sami Zayn back with the Bloodline, at least for one night. So if this is the possibility, I would love to see it happen. The War Games match would be incredible. So Triple H, book it, make this happen. Adam Pearce tripping about the Bloodline has me thinking there's a Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series elimination match coming. That or down the line, Pearce goes one-on-one with Aldis. Adam Pearce versus Nick Aldis in a battle of the GMs absolutely could be happening soon. Ever since Nick Aldis came into the WWE, there has been this rivalry brewing between him and Adam Pearce, the GM of Monday Night Raw. It started off as just a friendly competition with some friendly banter back and forth, but it's evolved now to the point where we actually have wrestlers from the opposing brand appearing on the wrong show. They're showing up, causing havoc, and completely derailing the episode to the point now where Adam Pearce feels the need to call out Nick Aldis' team and get them under control. But if Nick Aldis isn't able to get the Bloodline under control, if Adam Pearce isn't able to control his episode of Raw and isn't able to stop people from Raw going over to SmackDown, then it could cause some major issues between the two GMs. And this could actually lead to a matchup between them. See, both Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are former NWA champions, so they can go in the ring. There's no question about it. And with the right build, the right lead up, this could be a massive match. And if you really wanted to make it a big match, let's say if you wanted it to happen at WrestleMania, you could have the opportunity for one of these GMs to be the permanent GM across both shows. You could literally have them fight to see who is the general manager of WWE. Now, obviously, this all depends on if they are interested in stepping back inside the ring as an actual active wrestler, but if they are, this sounds like a WrestleMania match to me. 2-hour Raws are not it. The show felt lackluster, minus the Bloodline segments, and we had to rely on Raw Talk, a show that little to no one watches, to further storylines like the Wyatt 6 story. Yeah, I gotta agree with this. The 2-hour episodes of Monday Night Raw still feel like a bit of a letdown, and it really doesn't feel the best to watch right now. And I know this is an issue because WWE is going back to 3-hour Monday Night Raws in the new year, so they don't want to stop all the stories and all the character progression that they have right now. But as a result, it's made the show feel very, very lackluster and underdeveloped as a whole. Like, I know it's temporary, okay, but it does suck to see major storylines of Monday Night Raw featured on a show that, like this guy said, essentially nobody watches. Nobody's really checking out Raw Talk in live time to see what happens. Most of us are experiencing it through social media, whether it be a Twitter clip or an Instagram post or a TikTok, but that is how we are keeping up to date with what goes on Raw Talk. And when you have a massive moment like the Wyatt 6 kidnapping The Miz on Raw Talk happen, it just feels like this should have happened on the actual main show. Like the fact that we didn't get a 2-minute segment backstage where they could have shown exactly what happened with the New Day almost breaking up, deciding to drive in different vehicles, and then also to have the Wyatt 6 kidnap Miz. That felt like a segment that should have been on Monday Night Raw. And unfortunately, this is going to keep happening until WWE switches back to the 3-hour format. It just is what it is, and it's not the most thrilling or the best TV, but at least people are being featured in stories that can develop into something more in the future. But still, I wish more things were happening on TV. Damien Priest is not a babyface. We need to stop pretending that he isn't still a heel. Yeah, Damien Priest is not a good guy. He does draw inspiration from the original bad guy Scott Hall, and he used to say something along the lines of bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Well, let me tell you, this bad guy in Damien Priest has certainly lasted, and he ain't fooling anybody. Because for the first time in my life, I have actually felt bad for Dominic Mysterio. How are you such a bad babyface that you find me, Conman 167, rooting for the bad guy? Do you know how many good guys that I just glazed? Look, I glazed the shiz out of Cody and Sammy. All right, they're back there. I bought cardboard cutouts from them. All right, I have Jey Uso Yeet glasses. Okay, I like the good guys, but Damien Priest, you ain't a good guy. Bro just out here slamming chairs into the back of Dominic Mysterio just because he lost a match. Like, bro, get over yourself. Look, all joking aside, I do think that babyface Damien Priest can and will work. It just isn't going to work when he's fighting the Judgment Day. We are so tired of this storyline. We're so tired of seeing Damien up against any iteration of the Judgment Day. Separate them. It's time to be done with this. It's time to move him away from the Judgment Day storyline, but it doesn't feel like that's the direction we're moving in. Priest just has so much potential as a main event worker, and the longer that we have him hanging around this Judgment Day storyline, the worse off he is going to be for it, and he's not going to end up getting back to that world title because all momentum will be killed. He needs to move away from this story now because, my goodness, if he finds me rooting for Dominic Mysterio one more time because of his actions, bro, that's it. We're done, all right? I'm not rooting for you anymore. You cannot make me cheer Dominic. It's not allowed, Damien. How dare you? Just stopping in here real quick to remind you that if you haven't checked it out already, be sure to check out our Patreon. There is lots of extra content over there for you, and if you like what I do on my YouTube channel, you are going to love what I do over on Patreon. One of the series that you're going to get every single week is called the Main Event Series, and what we do is we go back in time all the way to 1995 and start at In Your House #1, and we are watching through every WWF pay-per-view main event in chronological order to present day. And we're also tier ranking them, so by the end of it, we will see all the main event matchups in WWF history tier ranked in a nice little list from S to F. We're also doing a Lucha Underground watch along, which has just begun, so if you want to hop on this ride in real time, make sure you check out the Patreon today. We've also dropped a match club where once a week you are going to be able to vote on which matches I am going to watch, and whichever match wins in the poll, I will be checking out for all of you, doing a full entire watch along over on Patreon. Plus, you get early access to my podcast conversations and so much extra content over there that I just simply don't upload anywhere else. It is a great place to be if you enjoy the Conman's content, so make sure you check it out, all for only $5 a month. It is an absolute steal, and if you like it for 1 month, I guarantee you're going to like it every month after that, so just keep checking out the Patreon. Link in the description below, and thank you very much for your continued support, whether you be just watching these videos or you're actually supporting us over on Patreon. Regardless, let's get back to the video. LWO versus American Maid. I'm all for it. American Maid needs to win some matches. Yes, it does look like we know what's next for American Maid, as the LWO and American Maid have begun their storyline against each other. We saw Brutus and Julius interfere in Zelina Vega and Ivy Niles' match earlier in the night, attacking both members of the LWO at ringside, and then later on in the night we saw Chad Gable take out Rey Mysterio with an ankle lock, ruining his opportunity to get that tag team title opportunity. But this is exactly what American Maid needs. They need this opportunity on TV to get in the ring against a legend like Rey Mysterio, to showcase how damn good they are, and to start building back up Chad Gable to rebuild Julius Creed and Brutus Creed as well. Look, I think that American Maid is money. I think Julius Creed is a future world champion. I also think Brutus Creed has a very good chance, and I would love to see Chad Gable be elevated up the card, even if it was just a mid-card title opportunity. I'd love to see him hold it. And then the eventual LWO versus American Maid 3-on-3 match would be incredible. Hell, if you really wanted to, you could do a 4v4 match with Zelina Vega and Ivy Nile getting involved as well. Regardless, anytime Chad Gable's on our TV, it makes for good TV, and I'm so here for this feud. The women's division on Raw equals the men's division on NXT. Both are very underwhelming right now. Yes, the Monday Night Raw women's division does need a lot of help, and it's very safe to say that the women's division on Raw is very comparable to the men's division in NXT, where both are kind of underwhelming. They don't have a lot of top tier stars ready to go at this moment, and the stories aren't the deepest. But the difference between the men's division down in NXT and the women's division up on Monday Night Raw is that the men's division in NXT still gets time in the ring. The Monday Night Raw women's division does not get a lot of time in that ring. Just look at Ivy Nile versus Zelina Vega's match on Monday Night Raw. Very little time in that ring, about 3 minutes, and very little was accomplished other than just giving Ivy Nile a win. This is how women's wrestling in the past used to be booked, and it was something that WWE was always criticized for, and ever since they switched back to 2-hour episodes of Monday Night Raw, it has been so noticeable in the women's division that nobody is getting the proper time to go out there and put on an actual good match. Like, what can you do with just 3 minutes? Well,
you sick freak!
But with all the stars that the women's division has down in NXT, it makes you wonder why WWE isn't trying to bring more people up, trying to establish more people on the main roster. The women's division could definitely benefit from seeing some stars rise up. Hell, I know they just got Julia and they just got Stephanie Vacour, but can you imagine if one of them debuted on the main roster? Like, can you imagine with all the fanfare that Stephanie Vacour had coming in, if they just threw her up on the main roster right away? Like, that would add so much intrigue to the women's division. I think WWE has to be willing to pull the trigger on talents that they think are ready to go up to the main roster a little sooner, especially for the women's division, because they could use the help right now. So many people are just waiting for an opportunity, but those opportunities just simply aren't coming. WWE needs to book the women's division better on Monday Night Raw, put a little more effort into it, and see if they can grow some more stars. I think Dominic Mysterio isn't a bad wrestler. It's just that he needs to get away from the Judgment Day, because that pop he got when he beat Damien is proof people want him to have a solo run, and I do too. Mark my words, one day Dominic Mysterio is going to become one of the biggest baby faces WWE has. The thing about Dominic is that people love to hate him, and when you have somebody that you love to hate, all it takes is one good storyline to convince us that we love to love him as opposed to loving to hate him. Like, I'm just saying, if Liv Morgan ever cheated on him, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be behind Dominic Mysterio. But personally, I love to hate Dominic Mysterio, and I don't want to see him in that babyface role just yet. For me, I would much rather him keep turning heel. All right, screw it. Have Dominic Mysterio cheat on Liv Morgan with Raquel Rodriguez. Turn him heel while he's heel for the 3rd time. But it really is inevitable. One day, Dominic Mysterio will become the biggest face in WWE, and so many people will be behind him. And when that day does happen, it will be incredibly entertaining to watch, as I think Dominic Mysterio is one of the better talents WWE has as a whole. He will do great things as a babyface, but for now, leave him as a heel. He's too damn good. No Wyatt 6. Yes, another episode of Monday Night Raw, and another episode where we don't actually see the Wyatt 6. It's making me question, does WWE actually have long-term plans for the Wyatt 6, or are they just here to be a spooky group? Because after the American Maid feud, they seemingly disappeared from TV. They've had a couple of segments here and there, and a couple QR codes have popped up, and it does look like they are going to target The Miz and the Final Testament. But really, they haven't been featured on TV. And for a group that was so revered, so loved, and it was such a hyped up debut, I'm surprised that they haven't been on TV more. Now, the Wyatt Six were technically a part of Monday Night Raw, but it took place an hour after the show on Raw Talk, where we saw the Wyatt Six kidnap The Miz. Now, this to me is a major storyline development, and I don't understand why something like this wouldn't have been on TV. When you have big moments like this that don't actually happen on TV, it makes you wonder if WWE sees the potential in this group that they once saw. Because to me, they're beginning to feel like a bit of an afterthought on the show, and I don't want to say that because I really do love what the Wyatt Six are doing. I like their direction, and I'm really curious to find out what their purpose is. Why are they actually here? Like, there is still a lot of questions about this group that we need to have answered, and hopefully we will get those answers on Monday Night Raw soon, but just fingers crossed that it's not going to take place on Raw Talk, because nobody wants to see that. Well, nobody will see it. Bring back the Wyatt Six to TV. The War Raiders deserve to beat Balor and JD with the help from Rhea and Damien, of course, and win those tag titles. Their reign as champions would be fun, as they are good in the ring and always give us exciting matches. Yes, I think the War Raiders are your next WWE Tag Team Champions. And this is not a shot at Finn Balor or JD McDonough. They are great talents, but we are tired of it. There is no exciting matchups anymore for the Judgment Day in the tag division, and it essentially has just been beaten down. Nobody is really interested in watching the Judgment Day in tag team action anymore. So yeah, put the tag titles on the Viking Raiders. The War Raiders. Put the tag titles on them. Let them run rampant with it. Let's see what they can do. It's been like 5 years since they've held on to tag gold. And the thing about the Raw tag team division right now is there really isn't a lot of depth. And so the Judgment Day just beating down every team around them doesn't build up anybody else in the process. The War Raiders could go in there and they could have a great match against the Judgment Day, take the titles, and try to build up the tag division around them. And even if we don't get a lot of new tag teams in the Raw tag division, at least the War Raiders at the top freshens things up and makes it feel a little better. But I'm here for it. Put the titles on the War Raiders. But those are your Monday Night Raw hot takes. Let me know any other thoughts that you have down in the comments below. And again, if you want to follow me over on X so that you can submit your hot takes in the future, be sure to follow me at Conman167. And while you're down there in the comments section, you might as well leave a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and keep coming back every single day because we upload wrestling videos every single day. Take care, everyone, and thanks for watching.